Hey guys, thank you for joining me. My name is Priscilla Wilson. I am Valor and Vellum here on Instagram, and yeah, and thank you to Art Central Slow for inviting me to do this Instagram takeover. We are doing a live right now. I'm gonna be demonstrating Micron pens, and just maybe showing some tips and tricks. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the chat. Otherwise, you know, I'll probably just be rambling. So I usually use an assortment of different microns. They have, you know, for the Pigma Microns, they have different gauges, which is awesome. So I usually use an 03, an 05, 08, a 1. Those are just the gauge numbers. And in addition to that, I also usually use the Pentel pocket brush, which if you see here that some of the line work I already did is what I use this brush pen on. Here, let me open it up. So you can see it's like an actual brush. So yeah, so those are like some of the tools of the trade that I use. One thing I would say, if you guys are interested in, you know, exploring microns, if you haven't done that before, one of the really important things is the paper that you use. Sometimes people have noted if they just use like office computer paper, there's a lot of bleed with the pens, and also they also notice that the pens don't last as long. So you know, what I would usually recommend is looking for a type of marker paper, vellum, which, you know, is part of my username. Anything like that. If just look at the paper, like the front of the cover of the paper, and if it says that you can use inks on it, then that's usually going to be something that you want. That's, you know, that means you're going to get these crisp, clean lines, and it also increases the longevity of your pens. So your pens, like the microns, will last a whole lot longer if you use the right kind of paper. So, you know, just all in all, you'll be like way happier if you use that. And there are actually different types of paper you can explore as well. The one I use is Canson marker paper. So it has like, it's very, very smooth, and it's also pretty thin. But, you know, I know there's some other brands out there, and also different types of marker paper out there that's like either a little bit thicker or has like more tooth to it if you want something that has more texture. So yeah, a lot of great options, and, you know, usually it's best to just, you know, test it out yourself. If you can go into a store like Art Central, you can go in, maybe see if there's some little testers you can see what you like. So yeah, we can like get into this. What I am working on right now is part of my Japanese folklore series. So I'm working on this piece next, just to kind of give you an idea of what I do if you're not familiar with my work. I usually draw everything traditionally with pen and ink, and then I transfer it over to the computer and I color it using Photoshop. So it kind of goes from traditional to digital, and I can show you a quick example too. Here, I'll show you. This is like one of my finished pieces here. So you can see that has, this was done entirely with Micron pens, and then the thicker lines that you see for the character was done with the Pentel pocket brush. And then after I complete that and color it in Photoshop, and I make my Giclée fine art prints, this is the final result. Hopefully you can see with, you know, there isn't too much glare, but yeah, so that's basically like the step-by-step of how my process is. You can see I do a rough outline with pencil first, and then that's how it is once the actual drawing itself is complete. And then that's, you know, after it becomes digital and then transfers back over to paper once it's printed out. So yeah, I guess I'll just get into this and start doing a little bit of drawing here. One thing I would say, you know, if you're newer to this kind of like traditional drawing, one thing I would recommend is, you know, mapping everything out, making sure you're happy with your composition and where you want your different forms to be. And then when you start drawing, start with the foreground. So, you know, as you can see, I have some of these little flowers that are kind of like, you know, they're in front of the girl. And then the girl would be the next thing that's in the front. And then it kind of recedes back. That's the order that I draw everything in. It just makes it much better. If that makes sense to you. Corey, thank you so much. Thank you for joining in too. I actually do some Twitch live streams, and Corey is one of the people, one of the regulars that's usually there. Okay, just making sure everything's in frame here. So yes, I am a lefty. A lot of my art friends are lefties as well. You know, and I was thinking about it too, because, you know, I since I do go from the traditional aspect of pen and ink and then transfer over to the computer, I scan it in and then use Photoshop for coloring. Some people might wonder, you know, like, why do that instead of just, you know, drawing it digitally, like straight onto the computer, which a lot of people do. And, you know, I would say just do like whatever works for you. But for me personally, I have like a few reasons that I do it this way. One, I just, you know, I do like the traditional analog aspect of like, you know, just putting the pen to actual paper. I think it's kind of similar to people who prefer to read like actual like paper books instead of, you know, reading on their iPad or Kindle. So, you know, there's that. There's also, I think like, there's also the human error aspect of it too. I feel like when you draw traditionally, there's almost like a bit more soul that's captured in it, because like, you know, to err is human. So it almost makes it relatable when you see something that's not quite perfect. So which I like that. So, you know, there's that. And then, you know, the final reason, you know, just from like the artist standpoint is, if you draw it completely digitally, then all you can really sell, are the prints. But if you draw it first, like, you know, how I'm doing here, or if you do sketches, like pencil sketches beforehand, then that means in addition to the prints that you sell, you can also sell the sketches, and you can also sell the original piece, which I've done before. And, you know, if people are art collectors, that becomes something that's really rare and really valuable to them. So that's, you know, some of the reasons why I do it. Oh, hello, Slay Shell. Slay Shell says I have lefty envy. Oh man, I don't know. I think I have a righty envy just because like the world is made for righties. Like, you know, I draw and I eat with my left hand, but everything else I do with my right hand, mostly because I had to, like, you know, just growing up, everything's set up for right-handed people. Corey is saying, or vice versa, do you ever color with pen and ink? Let me see. You know what? I actually haven't colored too much, at least not with like pen and ink. You know, I've dabbled in watercolor. And when I do, you know, for those of you who are on Twitch, you know, it's not just a gaming platform, it's also an art platform. And I have what we call Fan Art Fridays, which, I mean, some of you, I know that Sam's been there, Killer Queen of Heart, and Corey has been there. So what I usually do for mine, for my sessions is I'll do like pen and ink that you see here, but on a smaller scale, like just on a little cardstock. And then I actually do color it, you know, because, you know, since it's a commission that's done like on demand, live streamed, I do use colored pencils for that, which I'm sure Art Central probably carries. I use the Prisma color because they're nice and smooth and they're really vibrant. So you know, and I guess it just depends on what kind of effect you want to have too. Some of those markers are amazing. I just, you know, they're expensive, and I haven't really dabbled with them as much. And oh, you know, another thing I just thought of, if you are new to the world of like, you know, pen and ink and microns and all that, I would suggest starting out with one of the blister packs. They're usually, you know, they're on a card and then it has like that plastic blister, and then there's usually like, you know, you could get packs of like maybe 5, or you could get packs of like 10, the bigger packs. I would recommend going, you know, for maybe one of those big packs, because then you get to explore all the different gauges, you know, whether it's like the really fine point or one of the thicker points, like, you know, one of like the one, you know, it gives you more like arsenal in your tool belt. So I would definitely start out with those, and then, you know, once you kind of narrow down what pens you like the most, then you can buy a whole bunch in bulk, which I have done, you know, since I now have like my favorite ones that I use. I usually buy them in bulk instead of the blister packs. I see some folks are joining us. I see Maureen, Aviana Sketches, MLW Studio, Alejo, Eve, Citrus Goldfish, and M. Just to let you guys know, I don't know if you're local to SLO, but let me pull this back up again. We do have a special for the Art Central anniversary. You can see here, I made a little graphic, so you can see there is a code. If you use it, if you go in store at checkout and you mention this code, you will get 30% off of all of the Micron pens you buy, and I think it's only for a couple days. So definitely check that out. You know, if you were planning on buying some pens in your local, you know, definitely mention that, and you know, that's a good hefty discount. Bring it back. Okay. And yeah, let me know, you know, if anyone who's just joining, let me know if you have any questions. I have been using microns for a very long time. I think I started using them in college at Cal Poly, actually. I graduated a long time ago. Killer Queen of Hearts says, I am here and I have audio. Can you hear? I have a little bit of background music going on. Can you guys hear that? If anyone is digging the chill vibes of the music, it is by an artist called Call the Botanist. He has his full album on Spotify, and I actually did the album artwork for it. So, you know, if you check it out on Spotify, you can see one of the pieces I did, which is done exactly how you are seeing here, done with, you know, traditionally with pen and ink first and then colored in Photoshop. Oh, it's faint. I can turn it up a little bit. And thank you, Sam. she says it looks great. Okay. So, you know, I've been drawing this way for like a really long time, so I kind of have a good idea of when I want to hop around to different gauges. Like, you know, I was using the 08 gauge for some of the thicker lines here, and now I'm going to go in and do like maybe just a little bit of detail, more detailed work with the 05, which is a little bit thinner, and I can do that and then maybe show you a close-up so you can kind of get a good idea of you know, what we're working with here. So let me see if I can pull this in. Hopefully you can see this okay. Oh, it's gonna be a little hard. Let me move this around. Okay, so you can see, like, if you see this cherry blossom here, you can see the outline is done a little bit more thickly. That's done with the 08. And then if you see the little inner lines, I used an 05. And you can see, like, with the Micron, you can get a little bit of variance with the thicks and thins. You know, so if you press a little harder, you can get it to as thick as the gauge will go. And then, you know, as you pull up on it, you can get it to taper out just a little bit. It's not as extreme as one of like the brush pens that they have. They actually do have some brush tip pens. Let me see here. I actually have one right here. So you can see this one is, it has a little bit more give to it, so you can get like more of those expressive lines. But the one that I like the most, which I did use here on the girl, is the Pentel Pocket Brush. And you know, just to talk about this for a second, I know that the focus is on Micron, but this is such a great tool too. You can see it has a really great brush tip. And then the other nice thing that's about it is if you unscrew it, you can see you can actually replace the cartridge in there. So, you know, if you run out of ink, you don't have to replace the entire pen. You can just replace the cartridge. I'm pretty sure Art Central does sell these Pentel pocket brushes, and they come in packs with the pen that you see here, and then 2 of those little refills. So, you know, it's definitely enough ink to last you for a good while. And yeah, and again, you can get extremely expressive lines with it. It does take a little bit to get used to if you aren't, you know, if you're more used to the Micron where you can put, you know, more pressure on it and it doesn't, you know, it still stays relatively, you know, concise and like it stays the same gauge as you're drawing. With this, you know, any little bit of like pressure or release of pressure will make it, you know, make the lines vary quite a bit, which is awesome. You know, I love that about it. And it also has, the thing I like about the Pentel Pocket Brush and the Microns both, even on this marker paper where, you know, the ink tends to maybe sit on top of it for a little bit, which is why it doesn't bleed like you would see on like computer paper. The ink dries like pretty fast. The Microns dry very fast, like almost immediately the ink dries. The Pentel Pocket Brush, you have to wait a little bit, but not as long as some of their other brushes that they make that I did try using. I don't remember what they were called, but the ink took like a day to dry, which is crazy. But whereas like, you know, the pocket brush ink, for whatever reason, that particular ink, it only takes like maybe a minute to dry or a few minutes, which is way better than a day. And welcome, Florida 1841. We are drawing with some Microns today. welcome. I think it's Heat Hooper. Thank you for joining. I don't know, are any of you guys local to SLO? Let me know if you are. Oh, Lauren's here, Lonniekins. Thank you for swinging by. Because, again, if you are local to SLO, you can go to Art Central, which is located on Monterey Street. And for the next couple days, I think it's through the 13th, if you use my code, they will give you 30% off of any Micron pen purchase that you make, which is a really good discount. Florida says that they are local. Here, let me go ahead and pull that up again real quick, just so you can see it. So there is, if you can read that, that is the code word that you would need to say at checkout if you do plan on going by Art Central anytime soon. Then you can use that code for your Micron pen purchase. Pull this back. And I'll go ahead and show you guys one more time, just, you know, since I know some people joined a little bit later. So here's the one finished piece that I did, just so you can see like what the end result would look like. And this is done entirely with Micron pens and the Pentel Pocket Brush. And you can see there's a lot of variance in the line weight, which is achieved by, you know, if you have a whole bunch of pens like I do, you know, that's how you can achieve it pretty easily. And then I typically take my pieces and transfer it over to the computer and color it digitally in Photoshop. So this would be the end result. So what you see here, it goes from this to an end result that's like this with lots of color, but still has, like, you know, that kind of traditional feel to it because of drawing it analog and traditionally with pen and ink, as opposed to just, you know, drawing it digitally. Lonniekin says your line art looks so good. Love her hands and face. Thank you so much, Lauren. And, you know, anybody who's here watching, if you're just lurking, that's totally cool. Or if, you know, you have any questions, feel free to ask. I will be here for another few minutes. I think we're going until 5:30 or so. So definitely let me know if you have any questions. And I mentioned this at the beginning of the live, but, you know, for anyone who joined a little bit later, one thing I would definitely recommend if you're newer to drawing with Micron pens, or just pen and ink in general, the paper that you purchase is just as important as, you know, the pens that you use. You know, I know some people have asked me before, like, you know, if they just started, they ask, like, you know, what they can do to prevent bleed, which, you know, you'll see if you use like markers on top of computer paper, you'll see like instead of having a nice clean crisp line, it starts to just bleed off a little bit and become thicker than what you wanted. One way to prevent that, and this also works with you know, if you're using like color pens as well, like those color brush pens, what you want to use is either some kind of marker paper or vellum, or you know, if you can find some sort of multimedia paper that specifies that it will work with ink or whatever you know, medium that you're planning to use, that is very important. And then, you know, there's a lot of options out there too for papers, like, you know, how thick or thin the weight of the paper is, and whether or not you want the paper to have some texture to it. I personally prefer the Canson brand because they have, you know, it's really lightweight. It's very thin paper, which, you know, I prefer. Some people prefer, you know, if they're doing like commissions, they usually prefer something thicker. I think Strathmore has a nice marker paper that's a little bit thicker, but that one also has some tooth to it. So, you know, that it kind of depends on, you know, your own preference, if you like having a little more texture to the paper as you draw or not. I prefer having something really smooth just because I think it gives, like, you know, a cleaner line, which is really important, especially if, well, it's important depending on what your end result is. If you're planning on doing something like a commission where the person gets to keep the original, then having that tooth is kind of nice because, you know, it adds a little bit more, I guess, like little details, a little interest to the image. But for my purposes, where I bring it into Photoshop and color it, I do like to keep the lines as clean as possible. It just makes it so much easier when I'm coloring it, when I color it digitally in Photoshop. Oh, I see some people are joining us. Ellery, Shauna, Gray, Izzy, and Synergy. Welcome to the live. Trying to make sure I'm not like throwing a shadow on my own drawing here. Head shadow. Floridy, the paper that I personally use is Canson marker paper. I don't know if Art Central carries this particular paper, but I do know they carry like multimedia kind of papers. The most important thing to look for, regardless of brand, is to look for something that either says marker paper or a multimedia paper that specifies that it will take well to inks. That's the most important thing, you know, regardless of, you know, brand or paper weight. This is my own just personal preference, and I can show you real quick too. It's just the, it says Pro Layout marker paper. And they do tend to carry different sizes. I usually do a 9x12. It's easier for me to scan it in, but there are different marker papers that are like much larger. You know, if you want to do something that's more of a poster size print, that is available. I'm not sure, like, I'm not sure if they have smaller ones like postcard size. They may, or, you know, I'm sure if you find something that's for like paints, like those little watercolor notebooks, those might work. I haven't tried them with, microns as much unless it was a watercolor where I did a little touch of line work on top of it and it seemed to work okay. So, you know, I think any of those would be good options, but if you can find something that says marker paper or vellum or multimedia, that would probably be your best bet. And you know, again, like Art Central, they're very helpful, so you can go in if you're unsure, you can ask them and they will definitely point you in the right direction for, you know, what tools you want to use and what papers you want to use. And it looks like we are at 5:30. I'm just going to try and finish this one leaf pretty quickly. If you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask before I sign off. Otherwise, you know, I'll show you the code one more time, just in case, you know, if you're planning on going by Art Central in the next couple of days and you want to pick up some microns yourself, then definitely use the code and get yourself a nice discount. And I can show a close-up too, because you know, the microns give such a nice opaque line. It's like, you know, so it's very dark. Not all pens do that. Sometimes they look a little bit grayish. So you can see here, and you can also see some of the thicker lines that were done with the Pentel Pocket Brush. You can see, like, you know, how much contrast there is and how clean the line is. So definitely really awesome products by and Micron's by Sakura of America. They make some other stuff too, like mechanical pencils. Oh, and one last thought, you guys. I also use, oh, it's a little faded, but I use I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Faber-Castell eraser. I like this one just because when you erase, it doesn't leave a whole lot of dust, and it you know, with inks, sometimes some of the ink can rub off onto the eraser, which is not desirable, because then your lines start to look a little bit more gray instead of the nice rich black. So having a good eraser is really important too, to, you know, just sweep up some of the pencil sketch. So this is one that I like to use. And again, if you're unsure about, you know, what you want and you go into Art Central, they should be able to help you out and let you know, their recommendations as well. So yeah, so I think that's about it. Can show off the Micron pens here, and let me pull up my code one more time, just in case anybody missed it. So this is the code that you see here. If you go, they don't sell anything online as far as I know, so if you go in store and you make a purchase of Micron pens, you can mention this code at checkout and they will give you 30% off of the Micron pens. Such a good deal. So definitely check that out. Even if you aren't in the market for Micron pens, go ahead and, check out Art Central. They are having lots of different promotions because of the anniversary. So, I'm sure you'll find something you'll like. Probably, if knowing me, I would find too much that I like and buy too much. But yeah, definitely check it out. This is the month to go in there. So I think that is about it. Thank you again, everybody who joined. I think this stream will be made available later on Art Central's Instagram account, just in case if you wanted to go back and, listen in on, what I talked about earlier. Feel free to do that. Otherwise, thanks and bye.